Hello! Do you have a child at home who really struggles with their spelling tests? Do you have that weekly angst as you struggle through those 10, 12, 15 words and maybe a sentence for the Friday afternoon spelling test? Well, we're going to delve into that a little bit today and see if that's the best option for your child. Alright, face it, some people out there actually do love spelling tests. Some teachers do because they are exceptionally effective ways and efficient ways to learn to spell. The only problem with them is they don't work for everybody. And typically, they kind of only work for the kids who are going to be good spellers anyway. So where does that leave the kids who are struggling with spelling? Often frustrated and learning to really hate spelling tests and feeling like they can't be successful, or that they can be successful but that the spelling tests aren't very useful to them. So we're going to talk a little bit about what the different options are to support struggling learners who are having a hard time with spelling. Okay, so what's wrong with spelling tests? First of all, they're kind of a memory test. And memory tests are fine. We need to memorize things. I mean, look, here's Bloom's taxonomy, which is like the basis of everything our education system is based on. And you can see that remembering stuff is at the bottom of the triangle. Everything that we do to build on that learning stands on remembering stuff. That's all well and good, except when you forget. Have you ever had that feeling where you're trying to get that word, but you can't quite remember that word, and there's just no hook. There's no hook in your brain. Like, I can't retrieve it because all I have is the word, and I don't have another way to find that word. And that's what we're doing with spelling tests. We're creating a rote memory of that word without creating that kind of neural network of words and connections to that word so that we can retrieve them if we need to. That's also why a lot of teachers complain that children can learn spellings for spelling tests, but then they seem to just dump the knowledge and they're still spelling the word wrong the week after. And that's because our brains are pretty good at, memorizing something in a certain order and writing it out in isolation, and we can do that. But when we come to writing, it's so much more complex. We have to think about what we're going to say. We have to figure out how we're going to say it. We have to figure out the spelling, and we have to figure out how to form those letters if we're handwriting the words. So by the time your brain's done those 4 different complex tasks, something had to go if that was too much of a load on the brain, and whoops, probably went the handwriting, and so probably went the spelling, because your child's more interested in what they're trying to say and how they're trying to say it. Many teachers use spelling tests as an effective way to build vocabulary. My question is it an effective way to build vocabulary? I mean, we know quite a bit about how to teach vocabulary instruction. The National Reading Panel, which is an American reading panel, did a meta-analysis of like 100,000 literacy studies back in the year 2000, and they came up with a strategy or best practices for how to teach vocabulary in schools. Here, Stephen Stahl, who's just a guru of vocabulary instruction, said that vocabulary knowledge is knowledge. The knowledge of a word not only implies a definition, but it also implies in how that word fits into the world. So when we just learn words by their definition on a spelling list, and we do a couple worksheet activities, are we really learning how to apply those words? Are we really learning how to retrieve those words and use those words ourselves? Or are we just learning that very basic level of memorizing those words? the other piece of this whole spelling test ideology is that what are we going to do? Learn every single word in the English language? Because when we learn through a spelling test, especially if we learn through spelling tests that are just, the Fry or the Dolch list type spelling tests, there is no rhyme, there's no logic to those words. So we learn one word, and we've learned one word, and we've got, how many other millions more to go before we can spell. So is there a better way to learn to spell the English language? I think so. Here's what I do. First of all, I teach phonological awareness. So I make sure that the children that I work with can discern the sounds within the word so that they can segment them and actually hear what's going on within the word. Then I look at the phonics. So we teach children what are the expected or possible grapheme combinations are for a sound. So for example, if I hear the sound eh, I know that it's likely going to be a E, but it also could be an EA, like in bread. So that's why phonics is important. But we go a little bit far with phonics. You hear many well-meaning teachers saying, sound the word out, just sound the word out. Well, that works really well with words like cat, mat, bat. You can totally sound those words out. But then there's a lot of words that you kind of can't. We get on to words with multiple syllables where we don't properly pronounce the sounds in some of the syllables. We don't say syllable, do we? We say syllable. How do you sound that out if you've never seen the spelling of the word and you don't know how to spell the word in the first place? So phonics is fantastic and it's extremely important, but it is just the beginning. It is just one of the fingers on the literacy 5. So I like to teach morphology, and there is research showing that it is very, very relevant to teach morphology to children from a young age. And morphology is just a fancy way of saying affixes, prefixes, suffixes, roots, bases, all of that. We're learning how our language is like Lego blocks and it links together. So the really great things about teaching morphology is that it follows logic, and we can start to create those mental maps of words in our brains, so there's less memorizing and we can start to be able to recall that information in other ways. We can learn experientially when we learn morphology. So for example, if I learn the prefix PRE in class, I'm going to come out of that and I'm going to see that. I'm going to hear that prefix all over the place, and it's going to reinforce it, and I'm going to get excited because I know what PRE means, and I know how to spell it, and I know how to read it, and I'm going to find it, and I'm going to be able to unlock the hidden meaning of some words, and that's going to be pretty cool. It's going to reinforce it. So when I learn an affix, all of a sudden I'm beginning to understand and spell many words rather than just one at a time. And then if I start to learn the 6 major spelling rules in English, I can learn how those affixes can connect to each other and how the spellings sometimes change. And now I can spell many, many, many words. And I can understand the English spelling because I have an understanding of what those prefixes and suffixes and bases mean. So the words, they start to mean more to me as I put them together. So here's an example. My base here is a free base, meaning that it can't stand alone, and it's struct, which means build. So I'm going to add a prefix to it, which is con, meaning together or with. So when I add that by word sum con plus struct, I make construct. And maybe I can add a suffix. I'm going to add the ed past tense suffix, which makes the word constructed. All right, let's try something way crazier. So here's ob, which is a prefix meaning against. I'm going to add it to my struct base. Then I'm going to add ion, which indicates that a verb is a state or condition. So, if I was trying to spell this word and I could hear the shun at the end of this word, I might not know whether that shun is spelled with a C, an S, or a T. But if I know that my base is struct, because I can hear it, construction, then I know how to spell that base, and I know that when I hear that shun sound, it's the I-O-N suffix. I know what that letter is that's actually in the base. It's not in the suffix, which a lot of people think it is. It's actually in the base, and I know that, and I can figure it out. So, if you hate spelling tests, if they are the bane of your life and they are just not working for it, it's okay. Don't feel bad. You can ditch the spelling tests. But don't ditch spelling, and it's very important. You just need to go with a more meaning-based spelling instruction to get a really deep meaning and understanding of our language. And then you can, and your child can be a successful speller. Hey, are you supporting a dyslexic learner at home? Then if so, head over to my website at notchilllearning.com. That's 2 H's and 3 L's. I've got a community going on over there. We're supporting dyslexic learners, providing customized instruction for them that's asynchronous and much more affordable than regular tutoring. I hope to see you over there. Otherwise, have a great day.